Welcome to the second part of our branding series where we're going to be talking about the impact that your business can have, that your branding can have on how your studio is viewed in the community, how you impact your community, and how your branding impacts your revenue. So we're talking about lots of good stuff today. I hope that you are going to enjoy this. I've got lots of takeaways for you guys to get today. So let's get to the goods. I hear my printer like doing things over there in the background. Don't know what that's all about. All right, welcome to the broadcast, everybody. If you are new here, my name is Sarah Campbell. I am a business coach and strategy mindset coach for music business owners just like you. Whether you own a music studio, if you teach out of your home, or if you have a brick and mortar place outside of your home, or perhaps if you are working on creating education courses for students or for teachers, whatever your music business might look like, I work with teachers like you so that they can get their businesses running smoothly in a way where all the strategies and all the systems and all the tools are talking to one another so that you can concentrate on actually making a difference in your world. So, welcome to the broadcast. Hey lady! I see Michelle Marquette DeVoe is here. Mwah! Love you. Good to see you today. So, shall we get to the topic, guys? Right here, right? So, how branding increases impact and revenue in your music business. So we're going to start by defining what I mean by impact, and then of course what I mean by revenue. I think we can get that one. And then we're going to jump into 3 specific tips about how we can measure these things, because let's get to the real problem, right? The crux of the problem here is this. It's really hard to measure impact, right? When I say impact, I'm talking about like how well known you are inside of your community, or the impact that you have with the students that you work with. Like, are they getting to where they need to go? Are they learning the things that they want to learn, and are they telling other people where they're learning those things, right? And it can also mean just how well known the name is. Like when people say, oh well, you should go study with Sarah Campbell, and they go, what? That means I haven't done my job. It means I haven't gotten myself out there. Hey, Debbie, nice to see you. So that's what I'm talking about with impact. So impact is kind of hard to measure because it's not a specific number. I'm eating my hair. It's not a specific number that we can track all the time. So we're going to talk about different ways that we can figure out what's the impact that my studio is having in the community, or perhaps if you have an online business, right? If you teach online, maybe then tracking it, how do we track that online? So that's the first part of this, right? So it's the impact that your business has. Super important to know. The second part is how do we track the impact of good branding on your revenue? How can we tell if your branding is working well in a way that it's actually increasing revenue in your studio? Again, kind of difficult to track because let's back up for a second. It's easy to track things like specific marketing efforts. Let's say, for instance, if you put flyers out in your community and you posted them, the little tearaway flyers, if you posted them in places around your community that allowed those kind of posts, man, those are hard to find nowadays. Do you guys feel me? Like, it is hard to find places in my community where you can post things. Those things are kind of disappearing. But that's easy to track because when you ask people, when they contact your studio, you'll go, oh, yeah, hey, how did you hear about me? And they'll tell you, right? That's easy to track. Or if you're using a Facebook ad, you can actually see how many impressions you're receiving on the ad, how many clicks you're getting on the ad, how many conversions you're getting on the ad. Those things are kind of easy to track. But when it comes to branding, right, when we're talking about the perception of your studio, right, we're hearkening back to last week's broadcast where we talked about what the heck is branding? Branding is a combination of so many different things, right? It's not just your logo. It's not just what your website looks like. Branding is the overall perception of how your studio is viewed. And that perception is created by the eyes of the client, the potential client. So it's not created by you, it's not your perception of it, it's the perception of the other person's. So we have to be able to figure out whoa, what is this perception that people are getting of my studio, and how is it impacting, or how is it influencing? Keep wanting to say impact and influence interchangeably. Not what I want to do. All right. How is it influencing your studio's impact in your local community? How is it influencing that impact online? And how is it influencing the revenue that you're seeing from that impact? All right, yay. So I see Julie is joining me today. She says, excellent question. So we're going to get to all the goods here today. Thank you for joining us, Julie. I see Linda and Debbie are here, and Christy's here. Yay. Yes, I know, Christy, this is a tough one, and we're going to talk about that. All right, so guys, if you want to get a hold of the show notes today, I'm going to put them out by the Coach Sarah bot. So if you drop me a good below here, then she will message you on Messenger. If you're new to chatbots, trust me, I try to keep her as like friendly as possible. She's not, sending you messages all the time. She's not annoying. She just sends you a notification on Wednesdays when I go live, right? She sends you a link to the video so that you don't have to hunt around for it. We're trying to keep things simple. And if you want, she also has the option for you to opt in, okay, to get notifications when I expand those show notes on the blog. So after these shows are done, they get put onto the blog where I expand my thoughts and I make all of the downloads super available there. So, hey, good morning, Bethany. Yay, I see some people dropping good below. If you are here this morning and you have not already said hello, please be sure to tell me hello. Let me know where you're coming from. And let's have a little chat today about how you measure the impact and revenue that you see from the branding that you've put together in your studio. How are you measuring that? How can you tell whether or not your branding is effective and if it's actually doing what you want it to do? Michelle's like, hire Sarah immediately to create her bot. Yeah, because bots can be used for good or evil, people. Do not make a bot that is messaging people every single day. It's just not cool. Actually, it goes against the bot broadcast rules. So bots, lots of rules behind that. All right. Hey there, Shirley. Nice to see you. All right. Let's get to the goods, guys. I'm rambling. All right. We're going to be talking about how good branding can increase the impact and revenue, right, in your music business. I'm trying to move that guy around. And we have 3 different tips that we're going to go over today. I'm going to expand those tips so that you can get lots of takeaways today. Speaking of takeaways, if you enjoy a tip, right? If you enjoy a tip today, then I want you to give me a hashtag takeaway, right? And let me know what tip is the most valuable to you. So we can do that as we go here. All right. Yeah. Christy's like, I'm not sure how to measure these things. That's why I'm doing your branding course. And yeah, guys, the branding course, the doors are open. There's only 5 spots left. So if you're on the fence, now might be the time to look that up. So if you are thinking about wanting to up your branding game inside of your studio, I've developed a course, developed it over the past year, and it's run 3 different times now. I keep adding new things to it and taking some things away, really simplifying and making it super effective and implementable. So if this is something that you're interested in, the doors are open right now. If you want to get a hold of that info, say something and then I'll message you privately. All right. Let's get to the goods. No more stuffs. All right. So how branding can increase revenue and impact in your studio. Here is the number 1 tip for you. All right. And I'm going to expand this guy. It takes 5 to 7 impressions for people to remember your brand. Now, you guys have heard me use this stat before, but I didn't use it in terms of brand, right? I talked about it takes 5 to 7 impressions for somebody to remember something, right? So if you're sending an email to a client and it's an important one, if you're sending out big changes to your studio, like if it's about policies or some kind of a scheduling thing, like maybe you change the recital date or something, and you send it out one time in email and you think that that's going to work. Guys, we can all say that we've been there and done that, right? Raise your hand if you've done something silly like that before and thought, oh, this is done, because people will read it. Nope, it takes 5 to 7 impressions for people to remember something. So this is why it's so important for us to have multiple touch points. If we're changing something in our business, we need multiple touch points for people to get the infos, right? I am so guilty of having done that in the past. I hope I'm not the only one. So it takes 5 to 7 impressions for people to actually remember a brand. So here is where we start to fall into mistakes and traps, right? So let's expand this thought. If your logo, like if your studio logo or like your studio name, let's say, isn't memorable, isn't easy to recall really quickly, right? Then it's going to take longer for people to remember you. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to change your name or even your logo, but what it does mean is that that information needs to be out there in multiple places. So if you are trying to gain recognition inside of your local community, or if you're doing the online teaching thing, if you're trying to gain recognition, you need to get those things out there. Just once is not enough. So, if you only have a website and you don't have a Facebook page, or you only have a Google business listing and you don't have a website, when people look for information about brands, they want to be able to find them quickly. So we need to get ourselves out there in different places and get a name out there, get our logo out there, get all the information out there so that it's very easy to find. That way, having those multiple touch points allows us to bring in people in different ways. So if they're Google searching you, they can find maybe that your studio comes up on the first page of results. Always nice for that to happen, right? Or if they're going on Facebook and they're finding you, they can find you there. If they're going on Instagram, they can find you there. Does that mean that you have to have 1 million accounts? Absolutely not. I preach this all the time. Only use the social medias that you want. But here's the deal. You also need to use the touch points. Maybe not just social medias, right? You need to use the touch points where your clients are actually spending time. So that is something that we talk about extensively when we're developing ideal client avatars and we're thinking about, well, how do I get a hold of these people? Well, you can only get a hold of those people if you're getting yourself out in front of them, and you need to get yourself out in front of them frequently. So that's one part of that, right? So coming back to that item number 1, you need 5 to 7 impressions for somebody to remember your brand. That's why it's important, especially if you've moved into a new community and you're establishing a new studio, or like maybe just you haven't moved into a new community, but you've changed locations or you've changed your studio name. You've got to get that information out in front of people. I would love to know, if you're watching right now, what are the places that people can normally find you? Where does your studio show up? Let us know here. All right, here's another tip about number 1. If you are not staying consistent, if you are not staying consistent with your socials or getting out in front of the community, you're just not going to have enough touch points. So consistency in these places is important. Putting it out one time is not going to be enough, especially if we're talking about social media, right? Because social media works, depending on the media that you're using, but it works in a way that once you post one thing, it's just, it's good for a certain period of time and it's going to go out in front of certain people, right? But it's not going to stay there forever. So this is why having a good social media strategy is super important. All right, so let me jump into the comments here. Oh my gosh, Janelle, what a fabulous, great, oh wow, this is like super big. Let me make this small. So you sent a text and remind about the spring recital and then a fridge magnet printed here. You did this 3 times now and it seems to help them remember the recital date. Also the studio name on it. Janelle, so smart, right? And that fridge magnet, how many times do we walk past a fridge? Lots. So that's a good way to get out in front of things. Julie is saying she's using website, Instagram, Facebook, and Mom's Group, but she's doing it consistently and it totally works. And Shirley is saying that she is on the first page of the Google search. Shirley, yay! That's awesome. That's good stuff. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Knowing, how can we increase the impact and revenue in your business? Well, you need to get those impressions out there. And if you're not actively doing that, I know you've got a lot on your to-do list. Trust me, I hear you. But if you don't have a strategy in place where you can actively get yourself out there, and if your messaging is not clear, you need to make sure that you are putting yourself out there in a way that will really attract your ideal clients and not just anybody. It needs to be your ideal clients. If you're not doing that consistently, then guess what? Somebody else in your in your neighborhood probably is, and that's who they're going to go to. So if you're having trouble booking clients, right, part of it might be that you don't have enough touch points for them to remember that you're there. All right, number 2, right? So really good branding will actually increase your ability to attract new customers. So this is kind of expanding on item number 1, right? The more recognizable your studio becomes, right, the more people via organic reach, right? So I am all about organic reach on Facebook. Yes, I do believe that Facebook ads can be helpful if you know how to use them correctly, if you know how to set your audience, and if you know how to, because there's all kinds of bells and whistles back there in the business manager page. If you know how to use the bells and whistles, Facebook ads can be effective. However, organic reach can be even more effective if you know how to use it. So the more recognizable that your studio becomes, the more your organic reach is going to get out there on Facebook or Instagram. That's going to increase word of mouth, right? It's also going to allow people to make those referrals. So the more well-known you are in the community, the more opportunities you have to bring in new people, not just through like doing advertising, but through word of mouth and organic reach. So good branding, right? Knowing how to find those touch points, knowing how to talk to those people, good branding will help increase that ability to attract new customers. And I'm not talking about buying ads on Facebook or Google ads or anything like that. All right. Second part of this, right? If the studio down the street, and I want to back it up a second and say, I don't want to ever be that person that sounds like you need to be better than that studio down the street, because guess what? There are enough music students out there for both of you. There really are. There is no shortage of music students in the world. What there is a shortage of is you getting your stuff out there and letting those students know where you are, right? So this is not about competition. This is about honing your message in a way that attracts the people that you can help the most. So if the studio down the street has a really strong brand, right, but you haven't put any time and effort into your branding, and you haven't, figured out a social media strategy, you haven't got clear calls to action on your website, you haven't figured out ways to use all of these little tools to let people know who you are, what you do, and who you help, then those people are going to go somewhere else. So it takes a lot of brave pants. So hashtag brave pants today. You guys have heard me use that term before in broadcasts, and you've probably seen me type it in my posts, but putting on your brave pants so that you can get your information out there and let people know, hey, this is what I offer. And if this is what you're looking for, then we might be a fabulous match. Oh, thank you, Michelle. She says, amen. No shortage, right? There is no shortage of students out there. I truly, truly believe this. It's not like all these students are just going to go to one person and then there are no students left, right? There's no shortage of students. We just need to know how to talk to them and how to let them know that we can help them. So that's the second point, right? So just a quick recap. 1, you got to know that it takes 5 to 7 impressions to remember a brand. So if you're not getting yourself out there consistently, or if you don't know how to get yourself out there consistently, well, people might not remember that your studio exists, right? Or they might not remember to contact you. They might know that your studio exists, but you've got to get out there in front of them consistently so that they can remember, oh, hey, you know what? We said we were going to do this. Number 2, really consistent and good branding, right? It will increase your ability to attract new customers, right? Because they're going to recognize you more quickly when they see your stuff pop up, or, when they're driving by your studio. If you have nice, beautiful branding and good signage, then they are going to recognize you and they are going to come to you to find out more. Final aspect. Okay, so both of those things there allow us to increase our impact in the studio, because it's going to allow us to get more people in our door. It's going to allow us to bring more music to more people's lives. Like if you're teaching voice lessons, it's going to allow you to connect with those kiddos that are doing the districts and the regional choirs. It's going to allow your community to be represented musically in the world, which is just makes my heart happy. And then, also having that strong brand, right, and being super recognizable is, of course, going to increase your impact because people are going to come to you faster. All right, now let's get to the revenue, right? So said we were going to talk about revenue here. And this is something that I remember took me a while to learn. Strong brands can command premium pricing. So let's unpack this, right? If you are struggling to get people into your studio, if you're struggling to get full rosters, this little bit of fear starts to creep in, and this scarcity mindset starts to creep in, and you start to think, well, if I can't get people into my studio, maybe it's because my prices are too high. Maybe it's because, that person down the street has something that I don't have. And we start getting into scarcity mindset. We start getting into like the comparison game, and then we start lowering our prices. Or maybe not lowering them. We try to keep ourselves at this level thinking, well, this will keep me competitive with other people because people are only shopping for price. Let me give you a little hint. That is not true. Yes, price does have something to do with this, right? Because everybody loves a deal, right? I mean, when you go out and you're trying to find things, you're going to try to find things like, you're like, okay, I only have this much money in my wallet, but if you want something badly enough, if the person who you are kind of watching, the studio that they're watching, like if they're watching you and your messaging is so super clear to them that you know how to say, hey, I see you. I know the problems that you're facing right now. I know that this is what you want, right? I know that you have this vocal break around, F4. And you are really struggling with that. This is something that I can help you with. If your messaging is super clear about that, if you have, hey, I know that preschooler that you have is so excited about playing piano, but you're a little bit nervous that they're not quite ready. If your messaging is super clear to that person and you let them know that you truly can help them, that you truly can bring results into their life, then the item about pricing, that starts to dissipate. Because if your branding is super clear, you are able to charge what you are worth and what you need to make in your business. You don't have to stick with that competitive pricing. You don't have to be held back by fear about increasing your rate $1 a lesson. I am talking about myself there because I remember feeling like I was going to vomit when I was raising my prices 10 years ago, when I was raising it $1 a lesson and I was going beyond the pricing of some of the music studios in my area, right? How many of you have ever felt that kind of fear before? Because it's a tough industry, guys. we are, I think it all harkens back to what Christy said at the beginning here. Christy dropped a comment and she said, I'm trying to find it here because you guys have been chatting here. It makes me happy. That sometimes people we get the impression that other people feel that they want our business. I'm going to drop your comment here, Christy, that they want it to be not for profit. Yay. Okay. Thank you, Michelle. We are not toothpaste. We can demand pricing that gives us a living. There it is right there. Excellent. Excellent. And yes, Michelle is so right. We need to run away from that scarcity mindset. And this is why, okay, I know that I've sounded like a broken record over this past year talking about branding, but this is why I feel it is so important for us as music teachers to understand how branding works and to understand how we can connect with the people that we can help the most. Because here, let's recap, right? Shall we get to it? Oh, wait, before I recap, because you guys are having good stuffs. Christy said that she felt that fear just 2 weeks ago. And you worked through it, Christy, and it's so awesome. There we go. Amy says, yes, fear is a rough one. I have fear during my music garden classes because, it's tough, right? So we're working through these things. Here's why it's important for you to have good branding elements in place in your business. And can I just say, it's not rocket science, right? But it does take a bit of work. So getting those good branding elements in order in your business takes a little bit of time, takes some thought, takes some mouse skills. You got to get on your Canva and work through the things, right? A lot of typing. It takes some time, but it's 100% worth it because if you have good branding in place, you will have the touch points that you need to reach those people who you can help the most. You will be able to have those impressions out in front of their faces so that they can see the things, so that you have memorable taglines, so that you have memorable calls to action, so that you share memorable stories so that they go, you know what? I think little Lou is ready to take Lou. Where did I get that from? I have no idea. I think little Lou is ready to take voice lessons. And you know what? I've been seeing a lot of stuff from that teacher who's in town, and I think she might be a good fit. So having good branding in place will allow you to make those impressions and get out in front of people. It will also increase it will increase your ability to attract new customers because you have all those touch points out there and because you are becoming recognizable as the place to go in your studio or in your community if you are looking for this. And then finally, having those branding elements in place then allows you to make a good living as a music teacher. And that's what you deserve. The hours that you put in every week can and should allow you to have a good living. So, I'll leave you guys with a final thought. Yay, Shirley says, Sarah, I'm with you. Hey guys, if you're still with me here, give me some hearts and some likes and let me know that you are hearing what I'm putting down today. Let me get a little sip before I continue. All right, I have some final thoughts and final takeaways for you guys today. Are you ready? So, I love this. Wait. There it is. Okay. This is a good stuff. I'm bringing in some Seth Godin today. You guys ready? All right. This guy's really huge, but I'm going to keep it right there, and I'm going to attempt to... First try. I pointed it out the first try. Fabulous. Okay. A brand is the set of expectations, memories, and stories and relationships that, when we take them together, account for a customer's decision to choose one product over another. So, when I coming back to the beginning, when I said branding is like this thing that encompasses many different aspects in our studio, right? That's what I'm talking about. What Seth just said there, right? A brand is a set of, I'm going to slow down and say this so that we can really absorb this. A brand is the set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that, taken together, account for a customer's decision to choose one product over another. Screenshot. Yeah, thanks, Pete. Yeah, you're right. There you go. All right. And thank you, Michelle. She says, I'm smelling what you're stepping in. Thank you. All right. So, guys, if you need help with this, I'm letting you know the doors are open. I do believe we are going to sell out. If you want to learn how to do the things and you want to get in on that branding camp, let me know. Just put branding boot camp here into the chat, or just tell me like, hey, Sarah, I want to learn stuff, and I will message you and I will give you the things. If you want to get a hold of the show notes from today, because I've typed them all up so that you can take those points with you and then learn from them later, if you give me a good below, then the Coach Sarah bot will message you and she will give you the stuff. All right, guys, thank you for showing up with me this week. I really appreciate you. I will be back next week. You can find me live here every single Wednesday at noon Eastern Time, where I drop mindset, business tips, and authenticity tips. Awesometicity tips. I'd combine those words. I'll tell you a story about that sometime later. If you want to get a hold of that stuff, all right, drop it below and the Coach Sarah bot will message you. So thank you so much for being here today. Hey, do me a solid. If you found this really super useful, I want you to let somebody else know about this right now. So if you have a teacher friend who's never been here on the broadcasts and you think that they could benefit from the free business and mindset advice that I put out every single week, let them know about this. Share this in a message to them, text them about it, or I don't know, write their name here or something. Let them know that this is here, because it's here every single week and it's not going away. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a fabulous week. And until next Wednesday, stay creative and stay you, because you're pretty dang awesome. Thanks for showing up. We'll see you later. Bye.